Well, hey, everybody. Happy Friday. I don't know about you, but I am glad that the weekend is here and it's going to be an exciting one. There's going to be the big live stream, the 24-hour live stream. So I thought I'd go ahead this evening and share my labs with everyone just so that I can get it out there because I know everybody's going to be immersed in that 24-hour live stream. And I don't blame you. I'm going to be watching too. So maybe I'll see you all there. I probably will. I hope you all have had a great week and I hope you're looking forward to a great weekend. Just waiting just a couple minutes to see who all joins in. I'm really glad to see everybody. Like I always say, when there are people watching, that means I'm not talking to myself. So please, if you want to, go ahead and comment and just let me know that you're here so that I can acknowledge you. And anybody who happens to be watching, if you do like the message that I'm spreading about the carnivore diet, please, please, please like, share. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. We all know about the algorithm and that sort of thing. So, it plays a big part. And I do want to get the word out to people. So please, again, just like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And also, I did want to share with you that I have an Instagram account. It's at My Metamorphosis. It's spelled the same as my YouTube channel. So you can join me there. I've got a couple of pictures posted from the concert the other night. I plan on sharing other things there, but to be honest, I've got to learn how Instagram really works. So there again, just please join me there and, we'll talk and share all things carnivore. So I guess I'll go ahead and get started on the labs. And then if anybody does join in later, then of course, if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to go back and review a few things. But I did have my fasting insulin tested this time. I've never had it tested before. And my fasting insulin is 3.8. Now, the traditional labs, or, the standard range or whatever, is that anything above 15 is not good. And so they want you to be below 15. But in the common sense labs, it needs to be like below 5 is like optimal. So I am really excited about that because that means that my insulin is in great shape. Okay, so your insulin can be in great shape, I guess, right? But anyway, the insulin is in the optimal range. So I'm very, very happy about that. That means that I am not I don't have insulin resistance, I guess, and I'm not diabetic, which I really didn't think I was. But, it's always nice to get the confirmation that that's okay. I had a couple of surprising things that happened. One, and I had told you all about it before, my blood pressure, I used to get white coat syndrome. So now my doctor's office, the people there, they know me well. And by the way, if you just joined in, please comment and let me know that you're here. Let me know who you are so that I can acknowledge you. And thanks for joining me. If you have any questions about anything that I might have already said, basically, I just was talking about my fasting insulin and that it is at 3.8. I had never had it checked before. So according to Dr. Berry's Common Sense Labs book, that is an optimal reading. It's optimal is below 5. So I'm excited about that. And I was just talking about my blood pressure, which I used to get white coat syndrome. And so therefore thankfully, my doctor's office knew me well or knows me well. And so they would retake it sometimes a couple times, and they would, denote it. And it was never, well, I'm not going to say never. I mean, maybe a couple of times it was at the optimal, 120 over 80 or below. But most of the time it was still above that, but it was not terrible. And so, for example, a year ago, my blood pressure was 136 over 90. And this is after they had taken it a couple times. So not terrible, but not great either. However, the first time they took it on Wednesday, it was 126 over 80. Now, look, y'all, that's just phenomenal. I don't even know how to describe how happy I am. And probably if they had taken it again a time or two, it might have even been lower than that, but they saw no need, so they didn't. And I was just really thrilled with that. I was just really happy. Now, another shocking thing is my weight. Apparently I didn't realize just how much I really lost. 1 year ago, I weighed 133 pounds. I didn't realize that. Wednesday, I came in at 110. Oh, yes, I lost 23 pounds. So, needless to say, they were a little bit concerned about that. Matter of fact, the nurse asked me about my diet, and I just told her that I eat very clean. And she says, well, do you eat meat? And I said, oh, yes, I eat meat. I eat lots of meat. And she said, oh, good. So I'm wondering if she may have thought that I became vegetarian and that's why I lost all that weight. So I didn't really come out and just say, yeah, I don't eat vegetables. I'm carnivore. I didn't do that, but I did say that I eat lots of meat. So anyway, that was a big surprise because I thought, I mean, it seems to me anyway, like my appetite had gotten better. I had been eating more, and I'm not afraid of fat. I don't portion control. I don't do any of that. So it's very, I don't know why, how I could have lost that much weight. I knew I had lost some, and then I had an appointment with a specialist about maybe 2.5 months or so ago, and I was down to 119. Now there again, I didn't realize I started at 133. I'm sorry, but I don't track. I just don't even own the scale. So, oh my gosh. My friend Running Tap is here. Hey. Great to see ya. Oh, yes. Oh, I'm so glad you're here from Australia. So what time is it there? I should know this by now, but I don't. So, but yeah. So anyway, yes, my weight, I was just quite shocked about that, to be honest. Just very, very surprised that I had lost that much. I knew I was losing. I thought I was at about 125 pounds, honestly, when I started. So it's 7:24 in the morning. So you're up early tomorrow. Yeah. So is tomorrow a good day, as Mike would ask? I'm surprised he's not in here, but maybe he's not off work yet or whatever. But usually he's joined in. So, yeah, 7:24 a.m. I'm usually up pretty early too, even on weekends. So that's just how it's gotten. Yeah, the time zones, they do. Yeah, the time zones are definitely you just have to stop and think. And then, of course, I mean, you just have to, especially when you have people like all over the world, like the United States, I've pretty much gotten them down. But boy, you get beyond that, and it's it's a little, you have to really stop and think. I just asked Google, which I should probably use a different search engine, but people just go to Google. That's just what you do. Years ago, I used to do Ask Jeeves or Ask.com. I always thought that was a good engine. But anyway, okay, yeah, beautiful in the early morning. Oh yeah, and Google is good for some things. Yeah, they are. I mean, well, you can get answers. Unfortunately, I guess you have to just be careful what just carefully consider what you're asking and what they're saying at times. So, yes, so my weight has been, oh, well, okay, Mike's here. Okay. I was just curious. I was wondering where you were because usually you're popping in and I didn't see you. So anybody who's joined in so far, I'll just give you a little brief synopsis here. My insulin is at 3.8. The Common Sense Labs book says that it should be below 5 to be optimal. Now, granted, you don't want it to be 0 or, because you that would mean that you don't make any, and so you're a type 1 diabetic. So you definitely don't want that. But at the same time, like right below 5 is supposed to be good. And so, and I'll go ahead and tell you all this part. The little nurse called. I call her the little nurse. I don't mean to be like, okay, I'll just say the nurse. The nurse called, and she said, and she says, and I saw the phone number. I knew it was the labs. And I was like, oh, God, because I've got something else I need to tell you about, too. And I was like, oh, gee. So she says, I'm calling from Dr. Blah Blah's office. And I just wanted to tell you that your fasting insulin is normal. And I was like, oh, great. Well, thank you so much. That's, and I didn't tell her that I'd already logged in and looked at all my labs. I was, I was chomping at the bit, and some of them had been posted actually the day of my appointment. They usually get them in there pretty fast, but the 2 special ones that I had requested, which were the fasting insulin and the vitamin D, those took longer to post. So, and then, but the pleasant thing about that conversation is that's the only call that I received about my labs. In other words, not one word was said about my, drum roll please, my LDL of 272. That's right, folks. My LDL is higher than most people's combined cholesterol. Matter of fact, I would think most doctors would probably have a cow over that. Like they would be. And my LDL last year was at 220. So I think my doctor probably knows that something's up, that I do not eat a traditional low-fat diet because my triglycerides and everything are historically low as well. He just knows that I'm managing things by diet. So he doesn't really, like I said before, we really haven't talked about diet. And when I do mention it to anybody in the office, I just generally say I eat clean. I don't eat inflammatory vegetables. I don't eat grains, and then just kind of leave it at that. And then, like I did tell the nurse this last time when she asked if I eat meat, I said yes, and lots of it. So it's not that I'm necessarily trying to hide anything. Yes, 0 would definitely be bad for your fasting insulin. And yes, LDL of 272, a new record. Oh, it's not a new record. It's a new record for me, but there are people that have their LDL like in the 500s, I've heard. I have not known anybody personally that's done that, that's had an LDL that high. That's just wild, though. That's the highest mine has ever been, for sure. And the nurse did not mention it at all. Nothing was said like, Dr. Blah, blah recommends a statin. Nothing. So I was just like, wow, this is fantastic. So not only do they not nag me about statins, I mean, they didn't even mention statins. So this is just, I was like, oh, well, this is a big time win, right? And then on to the total cholesterol. My total cholesterol last year was 311. And my total cholesterol this year is 368. So yes, it did go up quite a bit. My triglycerides were 77 last year. They were a little bit higher this year at 89. I'm not really concerned about that. That's a few points. That there could very well be a little bit of lab variation, and that's not enough to I don't think that's enough to worry about. It's well below the 100 that is optimal. So I'm happy with that. My HDL last year was 76, and this year it is 78. So it's slightly better, but there again, I don't know that there was really that much of a change in the HDL because it's a small amount and there's always a variation, a range where, it's plus or minus a few points with the labs. So my A1C last year, this was a little bit perplexing to me, but I think I know the answer to why this happened. But my A1C last year was at 4.9, and my A1C this year is at 5.3. Now, 5.3 is still very, very good. I'm not diabetic. I'm not worried about being diabetic. However, I think it is because I'm eating more protein. I really do think I need to just increase my fat. Actually, I probably need to increase both my fat and my protein. I don't know. I need to do something to put on some muscle. And of course, part of that is going to be lifting heavy things other than my body, which apparently, I mean, if I keep lifting my body, there's not going to be much to lift anymore. I'm not going to build any muscle, but it's just wild. So then, of course, that leads into my BMI. So my BMI last year was at 19.64. This year it is at 16.24. Oh, yeah, that's a low. That is low. So they could be lurking on my channel right now. They might be. I'm hoping that they adopt a proper human diet or the carnivore diet. They just might do that. And I need more gravity. I need some muscle and some shape, man. That's what I need. That's what I need. And hey, B-Dog. Oh, your fasting insulin was at 3.2, was 25, but the doctor never mentioned it. Holy cow. So they had tested you for it before then because, see, I had never had mine tested. I mean, I went all the way back. I've been going to this doctor for years. I mean, ever since he came out of medical school. He's not a whole lot older than me. And a friend of mine had recommended him, and he's been great. I mean, we ask about our families and stuff. So, I mean, he's a really cool guy. So maybe part of the reason he's not nagging me is just because, I don't know, we've just known each other for so long. And, I just call him Doc. And, I don't say like Dr. So-and-so. I just say, hey, Doc. I know. Let's see. So we've got on the journey here with this, beef bacon is one of my new loves. I have never had beef bacon, so I would like to try that. I wonder where you get it. I mean, do they sell it in the grocery store? I've never thought to look for it, or I don't know. I've never heard of that. I guess I've been living under a rock, but of course they come up with new things all the time, so you never know. Okay, so let's see. What have I left off? Oh, yes, this is one thing that is a bit perplexing, and I think I know why this happened too, because, of course, the night before my labs, my son and I'm sorry, it was not my son. he was going to go, and then he had to go out of town for business. So it's my brother. But my brother and I went to see Alice Cooper and Rob Zombie. And I didn't get home until well after midnight, and my appointment was at 8 o'clock in the morning. So needless to say, you're keyed up after a show, or at least I am. I mean, I was like, I could have kept on rocking, right? Well, so I don't know exactly what time I went to sleep, but it was well after 1. And I had to get up at about 6 to get ready to go to my appointment. And so needless to say, I did not have much sleep at all. I was pretty tired. I mean, I got up better than I thought I would. And yeah, Alice Cooper was cool. Alice Cooper he's always amazing. Now, his stage show was scaled down a little bit. It kind of surprised me because Rob Zombie was actually like the headliner. I thought since Alice was such a legend that he would have been the headliner. But he wasn't, and that was okay. I mean, they both had equal time. It was just that Rob Zombie played last. But Alice Cooper did do the decapitation thing again with the guillotine. And so that was always cool. And my brother had never seen Alice Cooper. I mean, I went to every rock show that came along when I was a teenager, but he didn't go to as many. And so he'd never seen Alice Cooper or Rob Zombie. So it was great. It was so much fun. So anyway, so I had like no sleep. So my fasting insulin my fasting glucose was at 111. I was pretty surprised about that. Now, I haven't taken my fasting glucose measurement at home in quite a while, but it was averaging, it would be anywhere between like the upper 70s and like the lower 90s generally. And at the doctor's office, it was generally about the same range. So I think, and I asked this question in the PhD community, Dr. Berry's group, I asked if, considering all of my other metabolic numbers, whether a fasting insulin, gosh, I keep wanting to say fasting insulin, fasting glucose could be elevated due to lack of sleep. I had done some research online, and it said that ongoing lack of sleep could cause a rise in glucose, but it really didn't mention anything about like lack of sleep the night before your labs. So, but a couple of the PhD advisors chimed in, and Kim Howerton did as well, which I was like, oh, wow, I'm honored. That's pretty cool. Yes, Q Judas Priest. They are like my second favorite band. Kiss is my favorite. Judas Priest is next. And then I would say Alice in Chains probably after that. Those are my top 3. Beef bacon is so delicious. I got it from Midamar Halal Meats. It wasn't cheap. I heard about it from the Bearded Butchers. Oh, and I've heard a lot of people talk about them. I need to check them out. I admit I haven't, but I'm going to have to check that out. So yes. So I did not take my fasting glucose this morning. I intended to, and I didn't. I know, like, get around to it. I've got the little round paper with the "to it" on it, but I didn't do what I was going to do. So yes. So my labs were pretty interesting, but overall, I am super happy with them. I'm especially happy about the insulin. There again, it doesn't need to be 0, but I'm really, really happy that it was below the optimal 5. And of course, my triglycerides and HDL, that ratio is excellent. So I'm happy about that. My A1C, I'm just going to have to up my fat, I guess. I mean, anybody have any suggestions on, or things like if you had a similar experience, maybe what could have caused it. I just never would have thought my A1C would go up on carnivore. Now, 4/10 of a point is, pretty, that's kind of significant. I mean, like I said, I'm not diabetic. So, I mean, gosh, if it would have been 5.6 or above, I would have just freaked, because that would have been a huge, huge, huge difference. But that going from 4.9 to 5.3, I'm thinking I just must be eating too much protein. But then I mean, what am I going to do? I mean, I'm trying to eat enough to gain some weight. And so I kind of was thinking that I would need more protein. Not that I was I was just trying to eat more of everything, to tell you the truth. And I thought I think I am. I actually think I am eating more than what I was before. It's just so weird. I've just got a strange metabolism. I don't know. It reminds me so much of when my brother and I were in high school, and we were both just tall and skinny. And he used to tell me that I was going to look like Eddie when I got old, Iron Maiden's Eddie. Yeah. And, all skin, all tight, and, look like a corpse, and just skinny, and, bones sticking out and everything. So we did everything we could think of. We pooled our money and got Weider protein powder so that we could, drink those shakes. And that stuff tasted terrible. Oh my God, it was awful. Oh, it was awful. Yuck. Oh, terrible, terrible, terrible. Yeah, Mike says you're a little more hardcore than I am. I'd say Def Leppard would be my favorite. Rush is, Rush. Yeah, Rush is like one of my top ones too. I mean, that they have, and it could be memory coloring it a bit. But I will tell you, I've got a video that was filmed about the same time. It was Exit Stage Left. I saw Rush in 82, and they were phenomenal. It was standing room back then, or, general admission. So it was first come, first serve. So all the tickets cost the same. And then if you got there first, you were lucky to, get close to the stage. And it was, you were standing, there were no seats, or at least at that venue, there weren't at that time. So we got there really early. And so I was like a little bit to the left, Exit Stage Left, but I was a little to the left. Well, it was my left. I guess it would be their right, though. I was to the left on the very front row of Rush, and they were just, God, it was incredible. They're pristine. Their music is so pristine. And I remember even back then just saying, I can't believe that's just three guys. Three guys can produce this. I mean, some bands have like, two lead guitarists, a rhythm, a keyboard, a this, a that. In Rush, three guys. So, yeah. Okay, it can go up, yes. If you're eating too much fat, it can. From what I've heard, if you're trying to lose weight, you eat a high fat at first, then lower fat in the middle, more fat at target weight. See, I didn't think that fat would make fat doesn't make your insulin go up. Gluconeogenesis takes place with your liver does that. So it makes glucose out of protein, and it just makes what your body needs. So I just didn't think, I don't know. It's my understanding, but I need to really get more into some research and just look at it, to be honest. I just didn't think that fat would cause your A1C to go up, but it could. I have no idea. When you're in the beginning stages of carnivore, your blood glucose can get a little high. Once your body is fat adapted, it'll get better. Well, I've been carnivore since December of 22. I would think that I would be fat adapted, but Who knows? And I've been pretty strict, pretty strict. Matter of fact, the only time I went off plan that I could think of off the top of my head was when we went to the Mountain Goat restaurant in Mont Eagle, and I had a cauliflower crust pizza. And then on my birthday, I had some hash browns. And that's the only times I can think of that I've gone off plan. I'm not going to swear that I haven't, but that's the only two kinds that. Oh, pristine is a great way to describe Rush. Oh, 2112, man. And have you ever watched people do reaction videos to 2112? I love seeing people the first time they ever listen to that song because it's just it's epic. It's epic and it's a great story. And the people, when they're first listening to it, they are just so immersed in it. And then they're just shocked at the musicianship. It's great. I love watching those reaction videos. And I have to say, I haven't watched quite as many of those because I've sort of gotten involved in carnivore videos and, of course, with my channel. But that reminds me, I do need to catch some reaction videos, some additional ones. I've gotten some notifications of some. And I just love seeing their expression and they try to find the words to describe it. And it's so difficult to do because it's just so complex. And, the time signature changes and everything. It's just, I love me some Rush. They may be tied. And the thing is, man, I love Judas Priest but for different reasons. Musician or, well, I can't even necessarily say talent wise. I mean, technically, with like technical skills, I guess Rush has more. I love them both for different reasons. The Bearded Butchers compared half cow grain fed and half grass fed. It's a great video. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I've seen them mentioned a lot and I just never did. There again, I'll write something down or say, I'll get around to it. And then I don't. So I do. So, yeah, I'm likely fat adapted. I'm thinking it's too much protein. So I've got to figure out like just how I can get more fat. And I've never, ever been afraid of fat. Like I know that there are some women, a lot of women actually, because we've just had that stupid low fat diet beaten into our heads. So many women are just petrified of fat, and so they'll eat the meat but they don't want to add fat or anything like that. And my mother never was either, so she never preached low fat. Now the reason we bought margarine was not because of the fat, it was because it was cheaper than butter, because we were broke as a joke when I was growing up. So they bought cheap food or just stuff that, so it wasn't always the best. And of course that also meant we didn't get stuff like Captain Crunch cereal and things like that either. Of course, my mother always said she wasn't going to buy that sugar cereal, and she didn't. So we would, if we had cereal, it was something like Corn Flakes. Once in a while, it might be Wheaties, but that was it. And she didn't let us put sugar on our cereal either. So it's just funny how she ended up then later as a diabetic adult eating. And I guess she just believed what they said, that she could just eat what she wanted, and as long as she took enough insulin. And then look what happened. Her quality of life got terrible, and then she ended up dying of congestive heart failure. And it makes me angry to think about it. And she used to be she was slightly shorter than I'm 5'9". She was about 5'8", and she was slender. Now she was never I don't recall her being like skinny or anything, but she was very slender and she wasn't concerned about her weight. She did seem to be very concerned about sugar, but then after she became diabetic, she just, I don't know, I guess she just believed that she could just eat anything she wanted as long as she took enough insulin to cover it. And it just makes me so mad. It just makes me furious. Hey, Rush and Judas Priest fan. All right. Yes. I love them both. I've seen Judas Priest several times. I only got to see Rush once, and that was back in the day in 1982. And unfortunately, I do, I do have the Rush tour shirt for that one. I did see Judas Priest back in the day. I do not have the shirt from when I saw them, and I believe, yes, it was 82. I don't have the shirt for that one, but I do have several shirts from after that. And one of the best Judas Priest shows I saw was at Ozfest in 2004. Yes, the whole original Judas Priest was back together. And, that was after Rob Halford's little hiatus with Fight and his solo stuff. So I was just super excited about that. And I knew every song they did. And I stood and I jumped and I yelled and I sang along to every one of them, much to the chagrin maybe of people around me. I don't know. Let's see. Mike says, I really like Judas Priest, but can't name any deep cuts. Oh, well, yeah. Like I said, I love them both, but for different reasons. When I just want to you can just meditate to Rush just about. Your mind will just drift and, play a whole film or movie. Judas Priest is more, now I will tell you though, have you ever listened to Sad Wings of Destiny? If you have not, there is some very intricate music in that album. It was one of their early ones. Oh gosh, was it their second? Oh, I should know that, but it's one of their early ones from the mid 70s. And I believe that, and you really can hear the quality of Rob Halford's voice. I mean, not that you couldn't anyway, but just give Sad Wings of Destiny a listen. I think you will be pleasantly surprised if you haven't listened already. And On the Journey says, I have been watching quite a few doctors and such talking about carnivore and ketosis. I've been dealing with higher ketones, and that could be because my body might not be fat adapted yet. Yeah, and I had a trace of ketones in my urine. I always do. I've always had it. Every annual physical since 2015, I've had a trace of ketones. So and from what I also gathered, there are a lot of people out there who really religiously measure them and are, stress over their ketones. And Dr. Berry has a very good point. He said, once you get fat adapted, he said, your ketones actually tend to go down because you're using your body has regulated how many ketones you need, and so you're making what you need. So you'll have some, but you won't have as many as you would, say, if you were getting started and your body wasn't, your body didn't know how to, or wasn't quite conditioned to use ketones as your energy source yet. I might have totally butchered that, but you know what I'm saying? It's once you're conditioned to using ketones, then you wouldn't have as many in your body because you're actually using what you make. So that could be it too. Okay. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, that I started low carb in 2015 because of my mother's health. I saw how it was going down. And like I said, as a diabetic, she just started gaining more and more weight. And I'm not here to body shame anybody. That's not the point. But she was eating things that she would eat spaghetti. And I'm just like, Mama, you shouldn't be. I mean, I knew that. And of course I knew that for a different reason. And because when I had gestational diabetes with when I was expecting my daughter back in 1984, they actually told me not to eat white foods. In other words, don't eat sugar, don't eat potatoes, don't eat bread. And by the time they got done telling me the don't eats, I was like, and y'all want me to gain weight? Because at that time, when I became expectant, when I first got pregnant, I only weighed 105 pounds. That's right. So I was tall and skinny back then. So I weigh 5 pounds more than I did back then. So you can imagine how self-conscious I was. God, I hope my like natural weight isn't down to 105, because good Lord, people will think I'm sick, man. This is craziness. I'm having flashbacks. So yeah, but anyway, so they told me, no pasta, no that. I mean, so basically they told me to just eat meat and vegetables. They didn't tell me to eat healthy whole grains. No, not in 1984. They didn't. Now you fast forward, and it was a different situation in 94 when I was expecting my son. They were actually just going to give me insulin. And the reason, though, I think that I failed the glucose tolerance test then is because I knew from when I was expecting my daughter what not to eat, because I didn't want to be gestationally diabetic. If that's a term. I didn't want that. So I purposefully ate basically meat and vegetables. And I was like, oh, yeah, so I'm not going to have gestational diabetes. Well, I didn't realize that if you eat that way and then take a glucose tolerance test, you're going to fail that sucker. And I did. And they were talking about putting me on insulin. Luckily, when I went back and got tested again, I was fine. Honestly, it just blew my mind at the difference in just a 10-year span of how. And of course now they just tell you to eat all the healthy whole grains and everything, and then, hey, if you need insulin, just take that as long as you keep your sugar low. And it's like, well, hello, you can keep your sugar low if you don't eat healthy whole grains. Oh God, don't get me started. But anyway, I guess I'm already started, right? It is so frustrating, because I know from back in 1984, I ate meat and vegetables once I found out I had gestational diabetes, and that was what they told me to make sure that I ate, and I was fine. After that, I ate mainly meat and vegetables. That's not to say that once in a blue moon I didn't have a taco from Taco Bell, because I really did crave them. But for the most part, because even back then, I was scared of diabetes. I was just scared of it. My grandfather had it, and his was treated by diet. That's another thing. My grandmother knew what to cook for him, and so he didn't take any medicine. Now, then my mother gets diagnosed in the early 2000s with diabetes, and all of a sudden, now she's eating all this stuff that I didn't think diabetics were supposed to eat. and yeah, it was just nuts. And yeah, by the end of her life, she was, and I understand that she aged. I mean, we all age. So I know that she's not going to look the same as she did, 20 years ago. Of course not. Or 20 years prior. That's not what I mean, but just everything about her was just totally different. In, her body shape, her energy levels, everything. My mother was a vivacious, pretty optimistic person. In general, like she would always say that her glass was half full and just stuff like, I don't know. She just and she just changed as after she was diagnosed with diabetes. She just was different. And she got to where she couldn't go listen to music. She liked to go listen to music too, but she liked country music, and she didn't like rock. She was a big country music fan, and she would go listen to live bands and stuff. And she got to where she couldn't do that anymore. So let's see. Christopher says, I heard that too about ketones dropping over time. Mine have a little, but sometimes I get a boost in ketones after a long OMAD day. That's interesting. Wonder why that is. Then On the Journey says, that is one thing I heard, that if ketones are high, there are a few causes that your body isn't fat adapted yet, or you're eating too much fat. So reduce your fat or use more energy or exercise. Yeah. Here's the thing, man. It's so hard to know what to believe. And I really do think that this is why N=1 experiments are so important. Now, of course, another thing about N=1 experiments, though, is you can sometimes have too many variables in there, and then you don't really know what it was that made the improvement. And I sort of accidentally did that. Of course, now it's kind of a moot point because I think I'm eating more, but maybe I'm really not, or I'm not sure what's going on with my weird metabolism. That's all I know, because I feel like I'm eating more. I am eating more. It's not that I write down every little thing that I eat, but I know I eat more meat cookies, for example, pre-cooked burger patties. I know I'm eating more bacon, and I'm still eating my sardines, and I just don't get it, man. And like last weekend, man, for example, like I ate a bunch, and like I scarfed down a big serving of haggis and eggs. So yeah, I just can't imagine. I have no idea what's going on with my weird metabolism. Don't know. Oh, wait. Karen is here. Hey, great to see you. I'm so glad you're here. And Mike says, I had a skinny wife. Funny story. She was lactose intolerant, but was craving a chocolate milkshake when she was pregnant with our son. She got so sick, and my son doesn't like chocolate. Well, my daughter does like tacos. Like I said, I wasn't perfect. I was only 19, okay? So I wasn't perfect, but I really did. I was, even back then, and I was terrified of becoming diabetic. So I didn't stray much, but I did stray. And I know a couple times I craved them. It was the year that the tropical blizzards, or the blizzard, came out at Dairy Queen, and my tropical was my favorite, man. And I craved them. And I didn't eat them all the time because I knew I wasn't supposed to, but once in a while I would. But like I said, overall, I kept to that diet. And so every time they checked my blood sugar and everything, I was fine. It's just, but man, it was hard. And of course, when you're young, I think we're all dumb when we're young. It's just, we're still skulls full of mush. Okay. Yes, it is hard to know what to believe these days. Doctors get so adamant against carnivore at times, and then there's others that are accepting of it, and a few are on the fence. That's true. It's just really, it is. It's so hard to know. And I just wonder about my doctor, and I wonder if because I just can't, I'm not going to question it. Maybe I've just said no to statins so many times that they were like, oh, we're not going to even bother with that. We're not even going to bother to suggest it or maybe because my fasting insulin was so good and all my other metabolic numbers are good, and he knows that that's my main concern. Maybe they just decided not to say anything about the high cholesterol. I think they all know. They can tell you're eating a high fat, low carb diet, or at least a low carb diet, because your triglycerides are low and your HDL, especially if you're eating enough fat, your HDL will be higher. And so if your triglycerides are low and your HDL is higher, then that's a giveaway. So I just don't think that doctors are stupid. They may be overworked, and I feel really sorry for most of them because the bureaucracy. And he's actually kind of like talked about that, like not anything in detail, but like he's mentioned before, that it's frustrating that, you have to key all this in. Like he sits there with a laptop now and he has to document all this stuff. So I have a lot of sympathy for doctors in many cases. I don't think there's any excuse for somebody being a jerk. So I'm just throwing that out there. But at the same time, I do have a lot of sympathy for them because it takes a long time to become a doctor. I think you're very idealistic and you have to be very dedicated to do that. Maybe some people do it for the money, but I'll tell you, it would be difficult to do something that hard just for the money if you didn't really want to do it. Deep inside, I mean, and that's true. That's like losing weight or anything else. You're not going to, it is hard, to make lifestyle changes or to change anything about your life or to do something long-term and consistently. So you've got to have a really, really great reason why you're doing it or you're not going to. So I just really, I believe that for the most part, doctors are just tired, beat out, and frustrated. And then on top of that, they aren't taught about nutrition, and what little they are taught is wrong. And so I think maybe more and more are going to get like Dr. Berry and other doctors out there, and they're going to realize as they hit middle age that the crap that they've been telling people to do is wrong. And they're going to find out for themselves. And if they don't come out and advise a low-carb diet or carnivore, they will at the very least not say anything if there are little clues that that's what you're doing. I don't know, and I'm not going to say anything, kind of like don't ask, don't tell. I'm just not going to say anything about it. And as long as they don't try to nag me, then I'm happy with them. And let's see here. We've got Christopher saying, I joined late and missed you reviewing your labs. Okay, sure. Okay, well, one's out of range. My LDL last year was 220, which would have made any doctor have a cow and recommend statins. Matter of fact, they would have recommended that, the shots, Repatha. Yeah, they probably would have recommended that. But mine only suggested a statin last year. And, of course, I politely declined and they didn't nag me. But anyway, this year, my LDL is 272. Yes, that's right. I am a lean mass hyperresponder. So I guess I need to do some of that, the Own Your Labs. Need to participate in some of their research and just see, maybe they can find some weird gene in my code that explains why I'm so dadgum skinny when I eat low carb. Because I really don't think I'm eating less than I used to eat, like even back before 2015. It's not like I ate a crap ton, but at the same time, it's not like I eat like a bird either. I don't know. But anyway, I digress. All right. So my LDL is 272, and they did not even mention it when they called about my labs. That's right. My fasting insulin was at 3.8, which is below the optimal. I mean, in other words, it's optimal. Dr. Berry's Common Sense Lab book recommends 5 or below for optimal. Now, obviously, you don't want it to be 0. That would be bad. That would mean you're a type 1 diabetic. No. All right. Let's see here. HDL last year was 76. This year, 78. Triglycerides last year were 77. This year, they are 89. So a little bit of an increase. Not too worried about that. This next one is kind of perplexing, though. It was A1C last year of 4.9, and this year it was 5.3. So that's actually 4 tenths of a point that difference. I think it might be because I'm eating more protein. I honestly don't know. I'm going to have to do some tweaking and figuring out what's going on there. But because my fasting insulin is so good, I don't believe I'm diabetic. So I'm just like, what's happening here? Why would my A1C have gone up that many tenths of a point? This one was a big shocker. My blood pressure was 136/90 last year. I tend to have white coat syndrome. So they know me there. I've been going there for years. So they will normally take my blood pressure a couple of times over. Like they'll do it the first time, then they would take it again, and then they might take it again, and to where it's down to where, because they just know that. Years ago, I wore a blood pressure monitor, and so they figured out that I have white coat syndrome. And still, my blood pressure was never like 120/80 consistently. I don't know. It would just fluctuate, I guess. But anyway, especially at the doctor's office, it would be still like 136 over 90. But this time it was 126 over 80 the first time they took it. Now, see, the last reading that I had, the reading from last year, was after 2 or possibly 3 tries. And I honestly don't remember how many times they tried last year, but I know they never took the first one because it was not. So, I mean, sometimes it would be, I mean, not terrible, but it would be up there to where then you would have to recommend something. You would have to recommend medication. And so, but they realized, all right, so then let's see. And another big shocker is that last year my weight was 133. I'm 5'9". That's a decent weight, still pretty thin for my height. However, this year, see, I thought, and I hadn't looked at it, and I don't track my weight, but I had thought I was around 125. That's just about what I thought my weight was. Well, it was 133 last year, and this year it is 110. So I have lost 23 pounds since being carnivore. That's right. How did that happen? I don't know. When I went in and they weighed me and everything, and then we got into the room, the nurse asked me, she says, "You're not trying to lose weight, are you?" And I said, "No." She says, and I just told her I was eating clean. And she said, "Do you eat meat?" And I said, "Oh, yes, lots of it." And she says, "Oh, good." I think that they thought that that I'd gone vegan. And of course, this was before, obviously it was at the appointment. So it was before any of the labs were done. So I guess you can tell by my labs that I am not a vegan. So just very, very strange. Let me see if I left anything out. I don't think I did. Oh, well, okay. My fasting glucose, however, was 111. Now, I have a theory as to why that happened. I think that happened because I went and saw Alice Cooper and Rob Zombie the night before, and so I didn't get home till after midnight, and my appointment was early in the morning. And so, look, I didn't plan it that way, folks. I had some people say, "Well, next time don't go to a concert the night before your labs." Well, you know how it is. You schedule this appointment like a year before, and of course, concert tickets too, they go on sale like way in advance. And so there you have it. So I didn't do it on purpose. But I know it threw it off. But here's the thing too, when the nurse called today with my lab results, my fasting glucose wasn't mentioned either. So I wonder, and I had told my doctor, and I had told the nurse when she came and took my vitals and stuff, I had told them that I had gone to see Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper, and I had on one of my T-shirts, as a matter of fact. And so we talked about that a little bit. So I'm wondering if maybe my late night before that they factored that in with that fasting glucose of 111. So I'm going to just have to see what I'm going to start tracking my fasting glucose. Or again, I've got a glucose meter, and and there again, like in the beginning of carnivore, I was tracking it and seeing just how I did, because I did see people post about having higher readings in the morning. And I did find out, like, for example, like after I went for my morning walk, I needed to make sure that I didn't test my glucose too soon, because your glucose, for good reasons, it's a physiological thing, your glucose goes up, to help give you energy while you're walking or exercising or whatever it is that you're doing. So I did test it for a while, and then I was like, oh, okay, well, my averages are fine. So I'm not worrying about it anymore. But the thing about my A1C, that's just weird, y'all. That's just totally weird. I don't know why it would have gone up 4/10 of a point like that. I think that's right, saying 4/10 of a point, because it was 4.9 a year ago, and now it's 5.3. Now, most people would be like, well, that's fantastic. I mean, it's below 5.6, which is like the cutoff point. And I'm like, well, I know, but I still want to find out why, because I don't eat carbs. I am very religious about that sort of, like I said, I've only gone off plan that I can think of, and I'm not going to swear that there's not something that I'm not thinking of. But when I had cauliflower pizza at the Mountain Goat in Mont Eagle, Tennessee, and then on my birthday, which was in March, and I had some hash browns. I know, but see, the potatoes, that's my kryptonite, y'all. I mean, some people be like, you mean you broke carnivore on hash browns? Heck yeah, I did. It was my birthday, but I didn't have any dessert. I didn't have a cake or anything like that. So that was my treat for my birthday. So I think I did pretty good having hash browns. I'm trying to think, at Easter, did I eat some sweet potatoes or something? I may have had a bite or two of sweet potatoes at my daughter's house at Easter. I may have done that. I think I did. Okay, so that's 3 times since December. And I do have to say too that I started carnivore after Christmas, so it was like around, probably, I think it was like a day or two after Christmas, because that's about when my neighbor brought me all that meat, and then I just started eating on it. So it was a nice Christmas present. Yeah, he brought me these boxes of hamburger patties and bacon, big tub of bologna, all this good stuff. And so, hey, I just lived off of that for a while. I didn't see any need to go to the store, and I didn't buy any vegetables. I didn't eat vegetables much anyway. So yeah, it was great. Okay, random. I was in a meeting in 2000 and singing a random song like always, and someone said, not everyone has a song in their head, Mike. Oh man, I have songs. I sing along to stuff, or like if something that I'm thinking like kind of goes with a song, then I'll just think the music part in my head and I'll just sing it. Yeah, I do that. I am sure people probably think I'm crazy, but that's all right. And B-Dog says, being dehydrated from the concert, that could explain. Possibly, but I didn't drink any alcohol. I didn't have anything, like I didn't eat anything, and my brother doesn't drink, and I don't the vast majority of time. I'm trying to think of when, besides, okay, yes, at the Highland games last weekend, I tried mead. And before that, I just don't. I think I had a drink on the same day that I ate the cauliflower crust pizza when I was with my friend in Mont Eagle. So I don't, but anyway, point being that, so no, I had no alcohol. It was not, and plus I knew even if I had thought about alcohol, I knew alcohol would destroy my labs. So I didn't drink any for a couple of reasons. Rob and Alice just played by me. A work friend told me that Alice was phenomenal. He was running around like a kid. Yes. My brother was, well, he didn't. I like Rob Zombie quite a bit. And of course, I remembered him from White Zombie too. And of course, I've loved Alice Cooper, but I like Alice Cooper better than Rob Zombie. I just have to say, I'm a huge Alice fan, and I've seen Alice several times. I had never seen Rob Zombie before the other night. And yes, Rob and Alice, it was a great show. Alice, though, it's just, you look at him and it's like, I mean, I know he's aged, but at the same time, like you can tell it's the same guy. It's Yeah, I wonder if he's a carnivore. I wonder what he eats. It would be interesting to find out. From what I understand, he does not. He is a Christian man. He does not drink and or anything like that. So he was a hardcore partier like in the 70s and I think in the early 80s, and then he got clean. And Rob Halford did the same. Rob Halford got clean too. Oh, my friend, Meeting Wellness Christy. How are you? Saw you were live and wanted to say hi. Well, I got to talking and I didn't see you. So I hope you're still here to hear me say hi back to you. Yeah, I'm just talking about these wacky labs. Actually, most of my labs were really, really good. I'm happy with them. There is not anything that truly bothers me. I believe there's an explanation for the high fasting glucose. So I'm not too worried about that. I am very curious, though, about that A1C. I'm just like, I got to figure out why that is. Yes, I have heard that. I was talking to somebody recently who said that their son actually goes to his music school in Arizona, and he does a lot, and Alice does a lot of charity work, and so he just seems, based on interviews that I've seen and I've read books of, what was his book had something, the title was something to do with golf, I think, like life lessons golf taught me, or just, I don't know, it's something about golf. But I had read his book, and it was he just seems like a really nice, good guy, somebody that you could just have some great discussions with. Oh man, my buddy Nicole is in the house. Hey, how are you? Yeah, sharing these labs. Maybe you'll have some insight on why my A1C went up 4/10 of a point from 4.9 to 5.3, and I don't eat carbs. I'm thinking it's too much protein. But here's the problem. I lost 23 pounds, Nicole. I went from 133 pounds last year to, drumroll please, 110 pounds. That's right. She is a walking skeleton. She looks just like 80 or close to it. Yep. So I don't know. Don't know why that happened. And I'm not starving myself. I'm not afraid of fat. I don't intentionally. Matter of fact, I buy the burger that's it's either what is it? The I know I get 70/30 when I can possibly find it. And then so I think there's one that's like 77 whatever. My son's not here to do the math in the head for me, and I can't think that quick on my feet. But anyway, so I get the hamburger meat that has the higher fat in it. In other words, I'm not buying lean. I add butter, bacon grease, cooking bacon grease, whatever, when I cook. That's yeah, like I cook a lot. Anyway, yes, very perplexing. I used to test my blood sugar when about the first, I tested it pretty consistently until about probably April of this year. And then I was just like, I'm tired of sticking my finger, and I know I'm not eating anything I'm not supposed to, so I'm not going to do it anymore. I had trends. So I have not tested it. And I was going to test my fasting blood sugar this morning because I do have a glucose meter. And since I'm not in the habit of doing it and I didn't set it out on the counter, I didn't do it. So I forgot. This is what happens. All right. Yes, A1C is a 3-month average. It might not be changed by a one-off meal. No, that's true. That's true. That's why I'm really trying to figure out. Now, what I was thinking was affected by the lack of sleep was the fasting glucose, which was at 111. That's what was just worrying me, because generally, both at home and at the doctor's office, my fasting glucose was generally in the upper 70s to lower 90s range, is generally what my fasting glucose was, both when I tested it and when I would go to the doctor's office. So I'm thinking the lack of sleep caused the fasting glucose. Now, you're right. The A1C is a totally different animal, and that's why I'm wondering if I'm having too much protein. And maybe my friend Nicole can shed some light on that subject. Oh, somebody's massage. Yes, I need one. Of course, I don't know. I don't have any muscles to be. My muscles are all gone, I guess. I don't know what's going on with me, man. But all my lab work, other lab work, like all my just other stuff is great. Like I didn't have anything that was, well, of course. Hey, Nicole, did you hear about my LDL being 272? Up from last year's 220. And when they called to give me my lab results, the only one they gave me was my fasting insulin. That's right. They did not nag me about or didn't even say, they haven't nagged me, but they didn't say anything about my 272 LDL. I still can't believe it when I was like, oh, when I saw it. So I think I believe it's safe to say that I'm a lean mass hyper-responder. So I'm going to definitely go to Own Your Labs and see if I can get involved with their studies and that sort of thing. I just, like I was saying before, they probably will find some kind of weird gene in my genome, and they'll be like, yeah, not only is she crazy, but she's also got this weird skinny gene. And so anytime she, I don't know, this is strange. Hey, we got Hoosier in the house too. All right, man, all my peeps are here tonight. It is so good to see everybody. Man, I am just so happy that you guys are all here. Yes, so glad to see everybody. Yep, Christy snuck in. She's going stealth mode on everybody. Going ninja. Yeah, there we go. Keto-Voragonian is asking the question. I'm very curious, and if Nicole is still here now, I am going to be on Nicole's channel, and she may be choosing to answer that question then, which would be okay if that's what she wants to do, because that would make for like some kind of a good thumbnail or something, maybe. So we'll see. Oh, he coached his grandkids' soccer teams. Well, that's great. Man, could you imagine having Alice Cooper as your coach? It would just be amazing. Oh, yeah, I would like, of course, see, this is the thing, though. The grandkids know him as Gramps, right? Like, oh, he's an old man. What they probably, you know what I'm saying, though, a grandpa. Hello, you just think your grandpa's your grandpa. And so they don't have a clue that these kids are, or that he is like this megastar. They probably don't have any idea. But boy, wouldn't that be wild? Yes. Need to get Nicole to coach you. I might need to. She says, I would up fat and decrease protein a bit to not convert as much glucose and try that for the next 12 weeks. Actually, I am not going back to the doctor in the next 3 months. This is what is really weird. And I of course, I have a really good relationship with my doctor. I've been going to see him since he started his practice. Of course, now he's in a bigger group, but or it's just evolved. But anyway, but I'm still seeing him, and he, like, I mean, I told him that I'd gone to the concert and had been up till dawn 30. It wasn't quite that late, but it was pretty close. I probably didn't go to bed. It was after 1. I was so keyed up. I mean, by the time we got out of Nashville and everything, and finally my brother dropped me off, it was after midnight, and then I was just so excited, and it's just hard to go to sleep. And I don't know exactly what time I went to sleep, but my appointment was early the next morning. So I would say my blood work was drawn probably around 8:15, maybe 8:30. So I had little sleep. Yep. So my fasting insulin there again is at 3.8, and my triglycerides are 89. My HDL is 78. So and my blood pressure was 126/80. The first that's the only reading they took. So I think that I'm not sure. Maybe it was an oversight that they didn't nag me about my 272 LDL and say anything about the fasting glucose. But I think I have heard others say that the fasting glucose being 111 could very well have been because of lack of sleep. Did you sacrifice fat? Actually, I was just thinking that I was just eating more of, in other words, like more of the burger patties, more of the bacon, more of the butter, more of the eggs, and then of course my sardines, just eating more of what it came with. So it's not like I do not count anything. I don't count ratios. I don't count macros. I don't measure anything. Matter of fact, I really don't track. I guess I need to start keeping a food journal and just see what I really do eat. But it's pretty much the same thing, about 3 or 4 burger patties, 2 or 3 hard-boiled eggs in the morning, or sometimes I'll cook eggs. Sometimes I have eggs in the evening with bacon and my burgers. I sort of, mix it up. I don't know. It's just very strange. Very, 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 very strange. Yes, I know. I'm crazy, but that's all right. Let's see. Yes. Yes, Keto-Voragonian. I did. My fasting insulin is at 3.8, which is less than the 5 that Dr. Berry considers 5 and under to be optimal. But of course, obviously, you don't want it to be 0. I can't remember what the low number is now in the Common Sense Labs book. So like I said, you definitely don't want it to be 0, but you do want it to be below 5. And so mine is at 3.8. So I'm like, huzzah. Okay, Nicole says it could also not be diet related. A1C could be stress, lack of sleep. And the easiest thing to do is just adjust the protein to fat ratios, bump fat, decrease protein, see how that goes. All right. Well, I'm going to do that. I guess I'm just going to have to really make a concerted effort to just see, like, for example, I'm just going to have to really maybe just add more butter. Like if I'm adding butter, just add more than what I normally add and make sure. I mean, like I said, I fix eggs in bacon grease. And I get the fattiest bacon I can find at the grocery store too. I mean, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, it's got a lot of fat on it. And I don't cook my bacon to death. I like it where it's kind of loose and just got like a ton of fat on it. I love it like that. But I know some people don't. It's different preferences. And then Christopher says, I heard that fasting glucose can can vary routinely. Okay, maybe that was a one-off high reading. If you're concerned, maybe try to get a meter to test daily. Yeah, and I've got a meter and I'm going to test daily. I just forgot. I didn't set the meter out on the counter, so I didn't. It's not a part of my normal routine, so I didn't do it. Yes. Okay, Bruce says, was it the same lab? Yes. Yep. My understanding is that numbers like A1C can fluctuate a little from lab to lab. As far as I know, they use the same lab. I don't think that matter of fact, I think they have an in-house lab, because I don't know how they can get the labs that quick, because some of my labs were already in my chart at the end of the day in my ECR. So I can't imagine somebody like LabQuest or somebody like that getting your labs to you that same day. So I think they actually have an in-house lab. I could be wrong. I can check into that. But 4 points, or 0.4 of a point, from 4.9 to 5.3. There again, not diabetic, so I'm not worried. Still, I want to know why. And I mean, if it's going to stay at 5.3 forever, I'm cool with it. I just want a reason. I just want to know. Well, all right, Christy. She's meeting up with the Lionesses to work on the upcoming live stream. Yep. Yes, I am going to be there, folks. As if I don't dry up and blow away first. Yes, I'll be there. And I look forward to it. Yes, Nicole says that could do it. Lack of sleep can cause stress to the system and elevate glucose. Yes. So I'm just going to have to make sure that I check my calendar. And if there are any concerts before my lab day, I just need to just reschedule my labs. That's what I need to do. Lack of sleep. This is Mike here. Don't think I'm eating enough. Just not that hungry lately, but have been getting up really early. Interesting. I can honestly say, and it's difficult for me to eat if I'm not hungry. I'm the kind of person that just, like, when I'm done, I can have 2 bites on my plate. And when I'm done, I'm done. And the thought of putting those last 2 bites, it just makes me feel sick. Now, I've not tried it to see if I can force them down. Well, I take that back. I've tried it and I felt really bad and had to lay down, but I didn't throw up. It's just, look, I'm telling y'all, I must have some weird genetics somewhere. I'm just this strange creature. You just confirmed what I'm having for dinner. Carrie was making me hungry with talk of all that food. I was considering her ribeye, and now it's a done deal. Yep. It's easier to keep a journal now. Breakfast, steak, repeat. Yeah, that's with the exception of the steak, because I eat steak. I love steak. This is the thing, folks. I don't know how to cook a steak. Excuse me. I'm planning on learning. I'm going to learn. I've got some videos I'm going to watch. And I already know how my son would cook it. He would cook it on the grill, and I don't have a grill. I don't know. I've got to learn to cook a steak, and I've heard about the sous vide and all of that. So I've just got to buy a steak and then just know that if I mess it up, it's like, oh, well, it'll make for a funny video. That's so terrible. I mean, I buy burger patties because I can just make up a big batch of them. I just bake them. And I don't drain the fat on them or anything. I mean, they're covered in their fat. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's all in the genes. That it is. I've been pushing to eat more, and adding a little extra fat helps me get that down much easier. Under eating can increase blood sugar after eating, which can cause a high fasting. I would track your food for at least 2 weeks to track your intake as well as your fat. Okay, I will do that. I'll do it. Okay, I'll do that. I will do it. No, you do not have to be done. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Look, I'm getting like personalized help from Nicole here. So this is awesome. She probably sees me as a challenge. She's like, I'm gonna fix her. she's a weird one. We're gonna solve this mystery. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out. Cook it in a pan in butter, 3 to 5 minutes each side, depending on how you like it. Pretty much it. Yeah, maybe. Here's the thing. The reason I started putting hamburger patties in the oven is because, quite honestly, I hate the mess. Now, maybe I had my stove turned up. Maybe I get impatient and figure, I don't know. So, like, how high is your burner turned up when you do that? I mean, what setting? You know what I'm saying? Like, how far do you turn the little? Look, I'm telling you, I'm dumb about it. Okay, I'm not dumb. I am ignorant on steak cooking. And honestly, like, especially when I was married and everything, I mean, the vast majority of our meat was cooked on the grill or in a smoker. So I didn't have to do a whole lot of meat cooking. Cast iron. I do have a cast iron skillet. I have one. I do have one. Doesn't get used a whole lot, but I've got one. Matter of fact, it hadn't been used in quite a while. My cast iron pan is heating now for my frozen ribeye. Try cooking from frozen with an instant read digital thermometer. Okay. All right. I got that. Hold on. Just taking a note. Let's see. Frozen. Hope I know what this note means. Instant read. Yeah, this is very professional, isn't it? All right. Yes. You can tell I'm a professional YouTuber. Do I have an air fryer? Nope, I don't. I do not have one. I'm debating on what to get, and I'll tell you why. There are different gadgets, and my kitchen is small, and therefore I don't have like a lot of counter space. I have a place where I could put something. If I get too many somethings, though, something's going to have to go on the shelf. And the only shelf they could really go on is a shelf that I would have to get a step stool out and step on to get it down. And that is not likely to happen. I'll just say forget it. And how do I know this? Because I've got a couple of, let's see, I've got a Fry Daddy. Now, granted, I have not frying anything because I haven't, so I guess that's a bad example. But the point is, I know that I'm not going to go through the trouble of getting out a step stool and getting up there, lifting the whatever, the air fryer or just whatever it is. So I can get one thing and I can put it on the counter and I'm just going to leave it out. That way it's easy access. But my daughter has some kind of a thing, and I can't remember what this thing is called. And it's got a grill on it, but you can cook anything in that thing. And it's got all these different settings and stuff. And it's not an air fryer. It's something else, because she's got an air fryer too. She messes with all that stuff. So she's got an air fryer. This is not an air fryer. It's something else. It might be It's not a Ninja. What is that thing called? Anyhow. Okay, if I could eat just one meal for the rest of my life. Oh boy, that's a fun one. One meal for the rest of my. Now, if somebody else cooked it, it'd be steak. If it's up to me to cook it, seriously, I would probably. Bacon, eggs, and burger patties. If I have to cook it. If somebody else has to cook it, it's steak and eggs and bacon. I have to have bacon in whatever it is. It has to have bacon. I love bacon and I eat it all the time. It's fantastic. Keto Oregonian says, I have an air fryer on the counter. Everything else is in my room. Oh, everything else is my roommate. So my Instant Pot has to go in the storage. Yeah. It really stinks. Or I'm sorry, in the garage. Good Lord. I just inserted a word right there, didn't I? Yeah, it has to go in the garage. See, if I had it in the garage, I would never use it. I'd be like, forget that. I ain't going out there and getting that. I can already tell you. I just accept my limitations, okay? I just know. And if you've ever read Tiny Habits or Atomic Habits, both books are fantastic. And I have learned that if I work with myself rather than trying to make myself or depend on myself to do the right thing at the right time, instead I take steps to make sure I do the right thing, then I will do the right thing. And if doing the right thing is too hard to do, I ain't doing it. That's one reason why I haven't joined the gym. However, my friend Christy with Meeting Wellness has suggested these nested dumbbells. And so I'm going to, I do have the link to them and I'm going to read more about them. I haven't done that yet either. Let's see. Oh, fried catfish used indigo Neely breading, pork rind crumbs, egg white protein powder, and beef gelatin. Wow. Okay. Oh man, that's one thing that I miss is fried catfish. Miss it. Yep. I do miss it. Let's see. Bacon wrapped in bacon. Just about. I like pepper poppers wrapped in bacon, or peppers wrapped in bacon, I guess. But well, no, I guess they are pepper because they have the cheese. It's a stuffed pepper with cheese, and then I think it's like cream cheese and some other kind of cheese, and then you wrap the bacon around it. I have not had one of those in a very long time, but they were pretty good. That is something that I could definitely eat. Okay, let's see. Nicole loves chuck and brisket blend burger. Well, now I've never tried that either. Hey, while you're on here, Nicole, guess what I ate this past weekend? Guess what I ate? Do you know? I ate haggis. You know what that is? You know what haggis is? It's a Scottish dish. Traditionally, it is made with a sheep's stomach with liver. Let's see, the liver, lung, and heart. However, they can't make the traditional version in the United States, so it does not come in the stomach, and it's generally in the United States, it's beef, made with beef, and this was minced. It was not encased in anything, did not have anything else in it. It was just those three organ meats, and it was minced and cooked on a grill, and it came with 2 eggs, and that's what I had, and I scarfed it down. It was delicious. Delicious. So yeah. Yes, that's right. It is. It's heart, lung, and liver. Heart, lung, and liver. Yes. And it was so good. It was oh man, it was just fantastic. And I mean, there was a big pile of meat there. And then I went to a Greek restaurant and got just the Euro meat in a fold up, and it was like $11, I think. But I mean, it was like this big pile of meat. I'm like, heck yeah, I'll eat that. Yes. Do love me some liver. I do not typically love liver. To be fair, my mother never cooked it. And I remember once my father-in-law cooked it, and I don't know. I liked the liver gravy. He made this gravy. And of course, I was eating the gravy on potatoes. Potatoes, my kryptonite. I was eating the gravy on potatoes. And it was so good though, the liver gravy on those potatoes. But I ate like 2 bites of the liver, and I was like, I ain't eating that. No, no, no. But I do eat cod livers now once a week. They don't taste bad. They really don't. They're not bad. But they are so slimy. They are slimy. They remind me of that slime stuff that the kids used to get to play with when they were little. Boy, that stuff was, ugh. The texture is just like, all right. Brooklyn Burger makes a premium burger with chuck, brisket, and short rib. I think it's 29 grams of fat and protein. Holy cow. Brooklyn Burger. Write that down too. Oh, that's probably not something that you can order though. It might be a restaurant. That might be something, and I just don't know what I'm talking about. Out of that entire dish, I can do the eggs. Yeah, but the haggis, it did have a slight. I mean, I think the thing that you tasted the most was the liver in it. It reminds you of ground beef. That's pretty close to the consistency that it was. Not mint. It wasn't minced quite as fine as ground beef, but that's what it reminded me of. It was very good. Picking the eggs from the lung sounds tedious. Oh, yes, that does sound fantastic. It sounds so good. Just give me ribeye, says B-Dog. Just decided to try the catfish. It was really good. Oh, man. Yes, I do miss fried catfish. I haven't had it in a long time. Once in a while. Oh, let's see. Like the church would do a fish fry and go down there. It was not a regular thing that I would do, and I haven't done it in a long time. But I used to like to go. And then years ago, I used to do catfish nuggets, and I did use the Fry Daddy for that. But I never used Crisco oil. I'm trying to think of what oil I did use. I don't even remember. But anyway, I would cut the catfish fillets into like smaller pieces and make catfish nuggets out of them. Man, me and my son would sit and just chow those down. Those were really good. And this is all she needs to say right there. That a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's like, blah. Whoops, I meant to. Okay. Love fish and seafood. I'm getting my state fishing license finally. I had to wait 3 months. Oh, what'd they do? Were you on probation? Is that what it was? Okay, Brooklyn burgers are in the freezer case in the supermarket. Oh, they may be regional. Bring a big cooler up to New York. Hey, road trip. I'm going to be telling my brother, road trip. My brother and I are actually going on a road trip. We're going to Tulsa. And I know that doesn't sound very exciting to some people, but guess what's there? It is the Bob Dylan Museum. And so me and my brother are going there to see the Bob Dylan Museum, among other things, next month. So we're going to go on a road trip. And Bruce says I'd try about anything once. Though, my friend that I went to the Highland Games with, we went to the Highland Games before, and he never recommended that. But it's weird because ever since I went carnivore and I started eating the sardines and started eating the cod liver, and I had mentioned that I was trying to get, try new things and try organ meats. And so I didn't know really that they had the haggis there, and I didn't even know what it was. And when he saw the vendor there, he says, "Hey, they've got haggis here." And so we walked up, and he asked them if it was real haggis made with organ meat. And of course, the guy said, we can't make the true haggis, but it is as close as you can get in the United States. It's made with beef, heart, liver, lung. And so my friend looks over at me, and I was like, yeah, I want to try some of that. So we didn't eat right then because we had just gotten there, but he had seen the vendor. So we circled back around, and, we went and looked at some things and watched some competitions and stuff. And then we came back to eat. And man, that plate, and I scarfed it down. I was hungry. I have to admit, it was like close to 2 in the afternoon, and I scarfed it down. It was really good though. And happy to find premium blend, Nicole says, of brisket and chuck here in Nova. I know what Nova is. Do you know what Nova is? Anybody know? I know what it is. But if I can get ribs added to that, I'm all in. Boy, I know, right? I'll have to check. They may have that. And to be honest, I have not really looked in the freezer section if it's in the frozen food section, I've not really looked at when I look at the meat, I just look at what's in the meat department. So if it's in the frozen food section, maybe I need to go looking over there and see what they've got. Maybe that's what I need to do. Iowa puts all newcomers on probation for some reason. That's what they all say. I'm not guilty. I didn't do it. Yep. Heading to Montana to see my dad in October, Mike says. Times they are changing. Yes, Bob Dylan. Now, I am not as big a fan of Bob Dylan as my brother is. I like some Bob Dylan. I saw Bob Dylan live. Oh, gosh. It was in the mid-90s. It's like, that's big nopers. I'm sorry. It was, I couldn't understand what he was singing. And people say you can't understand rock and metal. No. You can't understand Bob Dylan. Not when he's singing live. His albums are one thing, and especially the stuff from the 60s and early 70s, man, I can dig that. I don't know. But, man, my brother is into Bob Dylan, so it's like, okay. Now, the leaves, they are changing. Yes, they are. Headed to Orange Beach in October. Yes. I know you knew. I was asking anybody in the chat if they knew. I knew what Nova was. Not only is it a cool car, it is. Let's see. Nicole says, never been to Montana, was stationed in Minnow, North Dakota for 2 years. That was cold enough for me. Yeah, I'll bet. And Karen says, it's cool down here in Arkansas, mid-70s to 50s at night. That's the way it's been here, here in Middle Tennessee, where I live. I'm sort of in Dr. Berry country. He's a little ways away from me, but he's in Tennessee too. And every time I go to straighten my shirt, I have to realize that I cannot use this monitor as a mirror. Yeah, I'm so professional. Ooh, 1.5 pound ribeye in the pan. Now you're talking. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Oh, Nicole says, that sounds glorious, Karen. It's in the mid-70s here. Perfect weather. It's been nice weather here, too. All right, Mike's got to go. He's got high school football. Oh, wow. That's awesome. Harlan's in the two-time defending. Harlan is the two-time, in other words, twice this has happened, defending state champs. The whole town shows up for home games. It's going to be fun. See, that's another thing, man. I want to, okay, hometown. That makes me think of towny towns. With my son and I, when we went on the Route 66 road trip, and yes, he was an adult. He was, he was 22 years old when we went. And he called them the towns that have the town square with the flag, and they got the post office and the community center and the clothing store and the grocery store and just whatever. Anyway, you get the picture, right? It's a town square, and it's just with the sidewalks and everything and the benches, and you got the old guys sitting out there whittling, going, yep, it's gonna be another scorcher today. See, I want to live in a towny town, okay? I want to live in a towny town. And we spent the 4th of July in 2017 in a little towny town, and they put on this fireworks show, and it was just so cool. We stayed in this motel that was like themed from the 50s. It was an old motel, but of course it was and it was authentic to the time period, but everything was very clean and pristine. And so we walked down to the town park, and we watched the fireworks. And I felt like I was in the movie The Sandlot or something. It was just incredible. I was like, oh, this is I want to live here. This is great. I love Tennessee and everything. It's just Nashville's grown so much, and I'm not trying to be ungrateful. I truly believe in appreciating what you've got. However, I fell in love with towny towns when we were on that road trip. I fell in love with them. And I know people who live in towny towns, they hate it. I'm sure, there's always the other side of the coin, and they're like, well, everybody knows your business here. So I want to move so where nobody knows me. Yeah, well, that can be good, but it can be not so good. And Nicole says, if someone asked, you can just point randomly on the field and say, I'm with them. Nicole says, Carrie's having fun. I love it. I am having fun. It's great. And I suppose I should have asked folks to like, share, subscribe, and all that. But now that we're, an hour and a half in, I imagine I'm going to have to call it quits here pretty soon because, for one thing, I do need to eat. It has been a while since I've eaten, and normally I have my second meal of the day a little earlier, but I wanted to make sure I went live and shared my labs and everything because I know tomorrow's going to be exciting, and I'm going to be watching too. Maybe not all day. I think my daughter and I are going to go get our brows done, and that's like legalized torture. The sacrifices we make. However, yes. Oh, you're in a small town. So I'm sure that there are things that you probably hate about the small town. Just like, but gosh, I don't know. When we were there, it was in that little town. It was Carthage, Illinois. And it was just, oh man, it was just so freaking cool. Just the fireworks going off, and everybody knew each other, and they were so friendly. It was almost like being in a Tennessee town or something, or being in Tennessee. And because people are, for the most part, friendly, although the closer you get into Nashville, you realize that native Tennesseans are a rare bird nowadays. Yes, indeed they are. And you got a lot of people you can tell weren't raised around here because they are rude. And Christopher says, my dad's hometown in Southwestern Virginia has an A-ball team, and we went to the game on July 4th as a kid. They had small fireworks display after the game. It was memorable. That sounds a lot like when Nashville was a lot smaller and more of an intimate community. We still have the Nashville Sounds baseball team. I can't remember who they were a farm team for. Anyway, but we would go there, and they would always have like souvenir cup night or just whatever. And we went on several occasions to watch fireworks there when I was growing up. Yeah, that is just so awesome. I agree. Nicole says, I'm in a city-like area now. Wish it were a bit quieter and less people. I hear you. I understand. This is frustrating. I grew up in a different area of Nashville, and I moved into the area that I'm in now in 1986. And at that time, my house was not the house that I'm in now, but I'm very close to where I used to live. But that house was a rural route. It was rural route 1, blah, 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 Tennessee was my address. And there was country. Matter of fact, my ex-husband used to have to get up. People would call in the middle of the night. Hey, can you help? Cows got out. And so the road that now is like this has lots of traffic on it. But this particular road, they'd go out, and I'd go with him a few, on occasion to go get the cows. Yeah, it was just totally different. So it was like it was country, and then I've just watched it just to the point to now it's like, man, it's city. And B-Dog's out in the country on a lake. It's the South. Oh, yeah, people are nice, good place, good people. See, that sounds like my kind of place. My kind of place. Oh, back then they were the Pulaski Braves. I don't know which farm team they are now, or if they still have it. Yeah. I'm in Franklin, still small. On the Journey says, I'm going to move to Tennessee or somewhere place near there, I think. Yes, please do. Just be friendly when you do, and don't try to change the way things are here, like some folks are. And that's all I'm going to say. But I welcome anybody as long as you're nice. As long as you're nice and you just don't try to change the way we are here. And it's really funny because I'm the child of a Canadian and a Midwesterner. They both came to Nashville prior to meeting each other and prior to me being born because of the music. My dad, because he played. I'll have to tell you one of these days about the time my dad met Johnny Cash at a recording studio. Anywho, so let's see, where was I going with that? I've been up a long time. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I've been up a long time. My train of thought just derailed. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Where was I going with that? Somebody help me. Yes, that's embarrassing. All right. I think it's probably on that note. Oh, yeah. Don't change. Tennessee. So, but I still was. Oh, yeah. I guess what I was trying to say is that I was born and raised here. And so even though my parents are Midwesterners, and I actually grew up talking like a Midwesterner because I wasn't around, like my family wasn't a traditional Southern family. Then when I got married, his people were here since the boat came over. And so I just sort of, through osmosis, all the Southernisms and all that stuff just like soaked in. And so now I'm this Southern girl. It's really funny. All right. Yes. Oh, B-Dog says lots of people trying to change Texas. It won't work. Well, I hope it doesn't because I like Texas too. And carnivore for life. That's right. That's right. All right, everybody. I am going to call it a night. Apparently I'm punch drunk, but before we go, anybody who's here, if you haven't subscribed, please do. It would really help me. And then also I have been asked by some folks about my shirts. As you know, I'm not monetized, and so you can't sell stuff on YouTube, officially, to where like they'll show your shirts or anything. However, what I did do is in another video, and I'll do it in this one too, is I'll put a link in there to my Spreadshirt shop. You can just copy the link and paste it into your browser, and you can get a shirt. A couple of people have told me that it has worked. It worked doing it that way for them, because I really wasn't sure how that would work, but it did. So this is one of the shirts. It says, "Welcome to my metamorphosis." And anyway, you kind of get the idea. So there's my shirt, one of my shirts. And another one just says metamorphosis at the top. So, and then I have another one that has like a slab of steak. And then it has the metal hand, and it has equals. And then it's got a smiley face with lightning bolt eyes, because yes, it just gives me so much energy. Just, yes. Anyway, if anybody is interested, I had people say they were interested before, and a couple of people have bought shirts. So I'll put a link in the description / show notes so that you can find it. And I appreciate everybody being here with me this evening. I am just so thrilled, and you all take care, and I'll see you tomorrow at the 24-hour live stream. Be there or be square. Bye, everybody.